All right, guys, we are here for another episode of the Rod Watson Audio Experience, and I've got special guests in the house, Kenyatta Griggs.
What's up, bro? How's everything?
Great hip-hop motivator today. We're going to be talking about your new book, Culture Vulture, right? Yeah. So before we dive into the book, one, I want to thank you for coming out.
Anytime.
I know you're a busy guy, and you got I'm pretty sure a hectic schedule as well. I'm pretty sure you got a lot of people also that's been hitting you up, about the book.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to get a chance to dive in and really talk about what motivated you to write the book, and then also get a little bit of understanding about who you are as a person and a little bit about your life. So let's start out and tell us a little bit about who Kenyatta Griggs is. Where are you from?
I'm from Los Angeles. I moved around a lot as a kid. I lived in Cleveland, Ohio, Tennessee.
Okay.
Cavs
fan?
Tennessee. Yeah, Cavs fan there. Tennessee. I lived in North Carolina, as I said, and just moved around. And when I was in California, I lived in San Bernardino, Long Beach, LA. So I had a very interesting childhood.
Yes.
From moving around a lot, just dealing with people and learning, people from different areas.
Absolutely.
And but LA is home. Definitely.
Well, you have an opportunity to grow up in South Central, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And obviously, a lot of people know about South Central from some of the movies, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, right? And a lot of that's oftentimes been a negative depiction of I guess black culture, hip hop culture, oftentimes. But then there's the other side to that as well, where prior to a lot of the gangs and drugs, we had solid communities and we had people that were very involved, business owners, etc. You yourself, you own a business within the community of South Central. Right. And you are a barber.
Yes.
Correct?
Right.
Talk to me about how growing up in South Central shaped you, and helped you develop into the person you are today.
Great question. Well, as far as growing up in South Central, including moving around, one of the main things that I've learned from just even being into metaphysics is that at this point, I understand that the darkness that most black people go through is actually one of the best things you can go through. See, the dark side is the best side.
Correct.
Whether you're from the west side, north side, south side, east side, whatever you want to call it, the dark side is the best side because that darkness always leads to light.
Correct.
And it's the darkness of your own ignorance, the darkness of not knowing something, the darkness of not being able to do something, or having the opportunities that a lot of people with the complexion of connection have.
Correct.
So I would think that for me, growing up in South Central was the pillar of me becoming who I am today, as far as creating opportunities for myself, as well as others within the business, to have a platform to express themselves through whatever their art is. And I call all forms of business art.
Creativity.
Absolutely.
Correct. I mean, really, just each individual has their own creativity.
Absolutely.
They bring to the table.
Absolutely.
And you growing up, I mean, obviously there are a lot of creators coming out of South Central.
Yeah.
From various artists to sports athletes, right?
Yeah.
But I'm noticing a lot more now. You've got more from the art side that are beginning to be shown. Someone like yourself, who I would consider an artist, putting together a masterpiece.
Thank you.
Even before Culture Vultures, there was the Secret to Balling.
Yeah.
And I want to share with you guys, Secret to Balling really started to shape my perspective on just being a business owner, being a boss, entrepreneurship. I think for a lot of people like myself, it not only sparked the interest, but it began to start, for me, it started to asking the questions. A lot about, why am I doing what I'm doing? Where is this taking me? What's my real motive? What do I want out of this? These are all questions that at the end of the day, if you are a creator like you and I, you're faced with these things at particular points in times of your life when you're trying to go through that journey to figure it out.
Yeah, definitely.
And for you came up with a very interesting name, Hip Hop Motivator. Right. And you got that all even across your shirt right now.
Hip-hop motivation.
This is a strong movement.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you are also a business owner.
Yes.
And I've also listened to your audio experience on Culture Vultures. And listened to The Secrets to Balling. You're a barber.
Yes.
You have a craft by trade. By trade. I grew up cutting cousins' hair, uncles' hair, cutting my own hair, college teammates' hair. But being a barber is more than just cutting hair.
Absolutely.
Can you elaborate on, one, why you chose that profession? Right? And two, where is that profession taking you to this day and point in time in your life?
It's another great question. Well, as far as being a barber is actually within all communities, the barbershop is the place. It's like the community center.
It's like the country club.
It's the country club. It's like when you come in and you build. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes we talk. We bag on each other. We talk some mess. Clown a little bit. But for the most part, the barbershop is where you can get that free game and that free information sometimes that you need to just move you forward. Correct. So for me, being a barber was something that sort of, I would have to say, like it was something that sort of fell into my lap because initially I never had the desire to cut hair until my mother wasn't able to give me money weekly to go get my hair cut.
It's funny. That's what motivated me to learn how to cut hair.
Right. So my aunt Betty, who by the way is in the hospital with critical condition, she's on life support right now. I want to send respect to her. But
prayers go out to
absolutely.
Aunt Betty.
She actually took me to a place called Service Merchandise in Ladera Center, which was the old Ralph's. Where Ralph's is now, they used to be Service Merchandise. And she took me in there, and I didn't know what she was doing. She bought me a pair of clippers, and she gave them to me. She handed me some money, took me to the barbershop, handed me some money, told me to go get my hair cut. But the clippers were for me to keep my hair up between haircuts.
Yes.
And my life has never been, it's changed. It changed from that day on because I started cutting hair. And then sometimes I would actually go get a haircut and even like tell my boys I cut it just so they would get my chair. And then I found out that I actually had the ability to do the same thing, if not better sometimes, than some of the barbers at the barbershop I was going to.
So Aunt Betty put the clippers in your
Aunt
hand.
Betty
She started it all.
Absolutely.
And that's amazing also that, someone that had a belief in you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's where it starts, right? Taking that one person that sees something within us, our talents, our abilities. Oftentimes we haven't fully come to an understanding, but yet they see it and they're like, look, I know that this one thing can change your life.
Yeah, man.
So now we talk about independence, right?
Okay.
One of the messages that I get oftentimes from the Culture Vulture book is really, having an understanding of self-awareness and then building financial independence for yourself. Right. Within the culture, hip hop, where we are, we see a lot of times that artists or various people supporting the culture are oftentimes doing things that aren't necessarily going to be beneficial for them in the long run. It doesn't lead to really true independence. Talk about what that means to you and how important it is for today, individuals, if you're getting into business for yourself, you're starting a business or you're learning how to grow your business, self-awareness and then striving for financial independence. How important is that to you? Because it seems to be a really big part of your message.
Yeah, it is. It definitely is an important part of the message. And one of the main things that's involved with that message is, like you said, it's awareness. Correct. So the Culture Vultures book is based around, making the people that read the book a little more aware of what takes place within business or when you're doing business with anyone. Correct. And it's not a race of people. It's not one of those things where some people think it's, the white people in the music business or the movie business. And a lot of times it is. But a culture vulture is a person that preys on the mentally weak. Exactly. Or people that don't know any better, that are not conscious of a certain thing. So what the book is based around is bringing people out of the darkness into the light again. Correct. So, if someone is conscious and they have a better understanding or they educate themselves on what to expect or what to know or what to do in certain situations, a vulture really has no power over them at that point. Correct. So we're empowering people to actually block or destroy a culture vulture from even coming in their cipher.
Yes. And that's amazing how you kind of played out the analogy of vulture, right? I mean, they're there simply to take advantage of someone that's weak. And it's about being informative and knowing your value.
Education is key.
Education yourself. You guys also talk about in the book, research. Do your research, right?
Absolutely.
Before you make moves.
Yes.
And having that self-awareness and knowing what you want to do is really the key. And then once you have that, you really can then be able to question things when people come to you and they're trying to offer you the shiny new thing or persuade you to sign this deal. If you've done your research and you have a full understanding of your value, then you oftentimes won't be persuaded or even pushed to make that decision if you knew the information going forward again. So as far as the book goes, what motivated you to write the book? What was it that really that moved you to say, hey, I want to put this book together and I want to get this message out to the community?
It started off about over 15 years ago when I was around the Rockefeller crew, Griggs, Dame mainly, and they would fly me in and out of town here and there. And I remember being at the Sundance Film Festival. They had a movie called The Woodsman that that was in the festival. And they flew me out there. Everything was cool. They put me up in the, the room, and everything was plush, laid out.
Yes.
And I was always very, very into what Dane was talking about.
Correct.
Like, a lot of times I would be cutting his hair, and he's talking to other guys in the room. So he's on the phone. I'm
soaking it
sponging
up.
it. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm listening to everything he's saying. I'm thinking to myself, like, wow, this would be amazing if my boys at the barbershop could hear this. And so what I did was I continued to, cut his hair over the years, including Biggs. Biggs said a lot of informative things, but Dane was a little more vocal and a little more giving with the information to me. Yeah. Not that Biggs is giving or Jay or anybody,
Biggs like old school,
but they're very, but Dame is unfiltered, and he just gives the knowledge,
yes,
gives the information out. And so I asked him if he would do a project with me, called The Secret to Baller, which was actually a piece on my Think and Ball Out, my first audiobook that I ever written. He said he would do it, but then like right before I got the chance to record him, I was shot. So we'll get into that.
Yeah.
But so I had to come back around and finish doing that with him. When I did the interview, so many people liked the interview, The Secret to Baller, and I did with Dane, that I said, you know what, I need to put together a book.
Correct.
And so this book is really in the span of really 10 years of following this guy and just kind of hand-picking great pieces and things that he said, and we put it together.
Yeah. Well, part of this audio experience is talking about trust in the process. Right?
Yeah, man.
You talk about 10 years, right? It took you to put this book together.
Right.
But over that 10 years, you were gaining the knowledge and information, right?
Right.
Take me into how you even begin the connection with Dame Dash.
Okay.
For those of you should know who Dame is. Dame is, the founder of Rockefeller Records,
right.
Poppington. He's produced the latest film, Honor Up, which I think was amazing, by the way. Great project. He's influenced hip hop, and fashion culture in so many ways over the last 2 decades. So, how did that connection even begin for the opportunity to write the book?
Well, the connection began because I would ask Dame a lot of questions, and he would just answer them. And so I'm also a person like, in my formative years, like I come from 2 parents that were very open and honest with everything.
Yes.
So I felt more comfortable being around that setting. I'm more comfortable being around people that are liars and that are open.
Yes, that are transparent up front.
Very. And so I always connected with Dame on that level. And his information to me was so important to get out there, and I was just amazed that he hadn't wrote a book, or someone hasn't approached him to do one. Right. And so I just told him, I was like, look, man, I want to write a book with you. I want to put something together. And
what was his response like?
Do it.
Okay.
Just do it.
Yeah.
And so, and then, when the average person hears something like that coming from a guy like Dame, they're like, they don't know what to do. But one thing about me, I'm a finisher. So, and I've had a lot of finishing moments, and it all started with, like there again with the barbershop, having to finish a haircut before you get paid.
Absolutely.
You have to be patient with the process. You have to take your time and just really do things, do your research, do the math, man. You have to do the math. You got to take your time and actually slowly put your pieces together. Yeah. There were people that were involved in putting the book together that fell off, and for whatever reason, they didn't finish and continue with us finishing the project. But it gave me an opportunity to learn how to do a book, correct, how to put the book through certain platforms, and put it up on Amazon. And it was just a wealth of knowledge doing that.
And this is all by yourself.
All by myself. Yeah.
So for those that are out there, when you talk about doing the research, can you really elaborate? That was one of the big takeaways I took from listening to the audio experience. It's like the research, right? You save yourself a lot of time, mistakes, trial and errors by the research. So can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely, man. I have a story that I share with people about my own experience with not doing research and not educating myself. Came from back in the day when, cats were wearing texturizers and jokes and stuff. And so what I did was, I got my first texturizer box and I ripped open the packaging. And, there's always directions within the box, which would be the education. Yes. That would be the research.
Yes.
And at that time, the internet wasn't flowing, and you're able to see how to do certain things on YouTube. Right. So I throw the directions aside. I just take the comb, stick it in, or I actually took my hand and was just rubbing it in my head.
Yeah.
And I was doing this every 4 to 5 days.
Wow.
which is why I'm bald today. So looking at my bald head should always remind people of that. From that story, they should be reminded that education, research is key, because not only can you lose hair without education, you can lose your own mind without education.
Absolutely.
You know,
and that's important.
And so, so if you look at the word ignorance, which means a lack of knowledge, the beginning of the word ignorance is a word called ignore. See, there's so much information out here that for you to be ignorant to anything in this day and age that you are pursuing is actually folly, because there's so much information. There's so many people that have done things. Absolutely. There's nothing new under the sun. Absolutely. If you want to create a tire company, there's other people that have done it. Correct. On different levels. You just do the research, which we call do the math. You know, you do the research. You take the time. And if it's something you really want to do, you're going to do it regardless. Absolutely. And you're going to have pleasure doing it. Correct. You know what I'm saying? It's a pleasure to research something that you want to do or you love to do. Correct. And so I tell people to stay there.
Well, you share something interesting during your process of creating the book. You talked about patience, right?
Right.
This was a 10-year journey. Mm-hmm. Most people, you know, usually can write a book maybe year, 24, 36 months, right? 10 years. Was the 10-year process because you were really like careful about analyzing what you were going to put out, or did it just take you that much time to do the research and feel comfortable enough that I'm ready to put this out?
That's a great question. Really what it was, Dan was moving back and forth. So he would come to LA, he would leave for like years at a time. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the stuff that I recorded with him and that we put together was like stuff that just was sitting. Correct. And so people looking at it like a lot of stuff is new, but it was actually archives of footage and information that I collected even to do the book. So when he would come back to town, we would hook up, but he might not have had time to really sit with me and give me a whole hour talk or 15 minutes of talking. So what I had to do, I had to wait and be patient on the process of him coming to town or actually being stable in Los Angeles, because he lived in New York, and then he came back and he went to North Carolina. So
how hard was that for you? Because I mean, for most people, they'd be like, I want to get this out. Right. You know, Dame's not revolving around my schedule. Man, you know, how hard was that for you to be patient and see this process through?
Well, it was initially, you know, it kind of messes with your brain a little bit at times.
In what way?
Well, because what happens is, what happens, confidence-wise is there. But what was happening is you're like, well, damn, this might not ever come to fruition because there's no stability for me to get it done.
And that's what trusting the process.
You have to trust the process. And so, and I'm one of those people, I don't believe in fear.
Well, what were you telling yourself during that time? So those that are in this position right now in life maybe be able to identify with.
What I kept doing was I kept working on other projects. I kept writing. I kept doing my own research, even on him, watching and reading different things. And even over the phone, I would talk to him.
So preparation.
Just prep, man. Yeah. You got to prep. You know, it's like a great chef.
Yes.
A great chef always preps before he cooks.
Correct.
But most people, you know, being that we cook, you know, if you're not a chef, you just throw something in the pan, you pull the pan out, you put the oil in it, and you just start cooking.
Exactly.
Instead of taking the time to get the ingredients.
Exactly. So people want something quick and instantly.
Right. Well, it's different, you know, and it's like anything else. It's like you got the microwave food or you got the food that's actually cooked in the oven. Yes. You know, slowly done. The ingredients are right, you know, and it's the same thing with writing or doing anything you're doing. Correct. You have to make sure you're adding the right ingredients. Correct. And those right ingredients is a lot of times building, you know, patience, you know, building your own character, bringing things forth, etc.
Well, let me ask you this. Mm-hmm. During this period of time where you were interacting with Dan, right? You know, you got a chance to see his every move. You know, it took 10 years to gather this content, do the research, get the information. Right. Dan seems to be more of a mentor to you during this period of time as well. You know, what's been one of your biggest takeaways from being around Dan and having the opportunity to absorb all this knowledge and information?
Well, one of the main things, you know, that actually was something that was given to me by my own parents was that, you know, you have to get to a mold, you get to a level where you don't care what people think about what you're doing.
And he has a strong sense of that.
Yeah, you have to actually be almost a little crazy in a way. Some people call it crazy to not care and to not trip off of someone's opinion of you. Yes, you know, because really and truly, the only opinion that really matters is the opinion you have of yourself. Correct. And so he just reinstated that. He stated that to me. He showed me that from just watching him and observing his movement. And that has been a success for him because he doesn't base his life on the value of others, on how people look at him, basically. So it's just something that was reiterated, and just really understanding and just really being honest with independence. Like, you have a team, you should be very transparent. And you should let people know what's going on, especially with independence when you build something from the ground up, correct? Because things can get a little tricky with people involved sometimes, where if they're not getting paid or they don't see the money coming
immediately.
Yeah, immediately what happens is they can fall off and they can kind of dip back, and and then you're looking like, damn, they don't seem to be enthusiastic about what we're doing. But when people are aware of what's going on, there's a lot more comfort there. And also, doing things correct sometimes, doing the business things that need to be done, like, getting the corporation going, protecting yourself, but that comes from further research and education, correct? Because a lot of times we just go into business and we don't understand that there is administrative work that has to be done. Right. The creative is going to get done. Right. There has to be administrative work that gets done. And, when you're by yourself, you have to do the research.
Okay, so speaking of creative, right, and administrative, it takes a team oftentimes to help those great things. And you kind of elaborated how when developing and having a team, you need to have the right people around you. Yeah. And let me back up. What steps did you take? Did you start building a team to help you prepare for this book, or did that kind of start to come as you were going through the process and realize I need certain people to do these things to save myself time, or I don't know how to do this, let me find the right person that can step in and help me get this accomplished. So take us through that process of the team building to help you bring this dream and this book to fruition.
Listen, the project itself, or just me doing anything, I didn't have a real team at first, right? But as I kept working and I kept moving in the direction of hip hop motivation, there were a lot of people that I started meeting on my journey. Mm-hmm. One of the first guys that was really connected to what I was doing was a guy named John Robinson from a group called Science of Life. He had some songs with MF Doom. He actually was MF Doom's partner on a lot of the stuff that they did earlier. And a guy named Kirk K. Weber. I had a friend of mine's, Jay Hen, he did the projects for me. I had people that actually believed in the movement. And so from believing in the movement, from there, I continued on. Some people fell off, some people stayed around. But I continued to keep moving. You know what I'm saying? And what happens is when you keep moving, you attract the people and the things you need to move further. That's just really the way it works. I mean, it's
once you make your mind up.
The end of the word attraction is action. Right. So if you're making moves and you're taking action, there will be people that you'll meet on your journey. Yeah. That you're saying it's nonstop. Absolutely. It's the same process. Like, right now, my team members like Michelle Gentle, who is actually my lady, and then her sister Carolyn Gentle, they have been the pillar and the cornerstone of the business, because what they're doing is they're doing the things that are unseen.
And is that family?
That's family. Yes, and her sister. Okay. So, but it's been a beautiful journey because we're all learning at the same time. Right. We're all growing and becoming different people at the same time, because we've been doing this now for close to 10 years together as a team. Yeah. But, just like yourself, you've changed so much maybe in the last 2 years, or 5 years, especially being a young man, and for the young ladies out there listening, you will change, absolutely become better people. But I feel that anyone that's going in the direction of trying to build a team, teammates come to you. They'll come.
Attract them.
You're going to attract them, because if you keep making the moves, people will show up. It's just like the old saying, that a lot of the old sages used to say, is like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. Right? It's the same principle. When you're ready, teammates will appear. Yes. And that's based in degrees. So whatever level you're raising your degree to, that'll be the degree of teammates that will come into your life.
You're raising that level and that energy as well. So absolutely. As you're raising that level of energy, you're going to attract
it's natural law.
Natural law that are there.
Natural law.
Perhaps help you along the journey, get to where you're going.
Absolutely.
Get to the next phase of your journey.
Right. Absolutely.
Which takes me to the next question. You mentioned in the book the double P's.
Okay.
The two P's.
The
two P's.
People and projects.
People and projects. Right. That's important. You stated it. That's necessary for success.
Absolutely.
Why do you believe that? Well, first, can you tell us what that means and why you believe that?
Well, why I believe that people and projects, the two P's that change one's life, or people and projects, because first, the projects that you take on will give you an actual outlook on who it is you are while you're doing these projects. Now, if you base what you're doing on fear, fear will show up.
Correct.
And it will limit your supply of source energy that you need to move forward.
Correct.
Now, if you use faith, as you know, faith adds to the patient process, and then you begin to attract things that you need and things that need to come into your life in order to make the business a success.
Correct.
Or to proceed, push you forward on your journey. So with projects actually are really, they just really give you an outlook on who you are and what you need to add to yourself in order to get better.
Absolutely.
Including people.
Correct.
Now, certain people in your life, like let's take for relationships, for instance. A relationship is not really for how you make that person feel. It's what do you feel within this relationship?
Correct.
They're reflective. You know what I'm saying? It's like you get a chance to see who you are in the relationship and then you get a chance to see from being in other relationships and friendships,
absolutely,
what you're willing to do and not do.
Correct.
You know, because everyone has their own red flags.
Absolutely.
You know, there's no right wrong
Correct.
on that level.
Correct.
You know, it's like the worst thing you can do, or the biggest folly to me is to argue with anyone. Because through the law of polarity, all truths are but half truths. So if we have a disagreement about something, you're right on the level of your vibration. Correct. And everything is separated through vibration, as you know, in degrees.
Knowledge.
Absolutely, that's natural law.
Yeah.
So, but debate is good.
Correct.
You know, so when it comes to people give us a chance to see what we want to do,
correct,
what we don't want to do. And from admiration, you might admire, for instance, admiration of Dame is what brought this project together.
Absolutely.
You know, admiring his mindset.
Correct.
And wanted to give that to the whole culture.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? And first and foremost, I did it for my people.
Correct.
You know, I have to say that. It's for everyone, but I had Black people in mind when I did the project. When I stayed patient with the process.
Yes.
It had to do with us.
Yeah.
Because I know for a fact
which
we were left in the dark for a reason.
Well, where we are. Exactly.
Absolutely.
And it's interesting that you shared that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the motive behind why.
Right.
What is the big takeaway that you want the readers and even those that listen to the audio experience, which brings me to my next question: why you created a book and an audio?
Mm-hmm.
But what is the takeaway that you want everyone, but ultimately your people, to take away from this?
I want them to understand that, you know, when you start breaking down the words. You know, when you take the word independence, take the first word within that word, in. The inner is what you want to depend on. The inner faculties that you have.
Correct.
You want to continue to look at yourself, stay confident within yourself by knowing yourself, learning yourself.
Absolutely.
Adding key things to yourself.
Correct.
Reading, studying, listening to good information, being around people that can raise your vibration and put you on a different level.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? Because education is what leads to confidence.
Correct.
When you educate yourself and you do the math, I'm not talking about so much of school education, but that's also a form of education, as we all know. But what you want to do is you want to educate yourself beyond normal school lessons and different things like that. And this adds the confidence, but I want them to know that independence is key. The inner dependence.
Correct.
Depend on your own will.
Exactly.
Depend on your own brain.
Which comes back to that whole self-awareness, right?
Right, absolutely.
When you bring up the term culture vulture, the reason someone can be taken advantage by someone that's looking to take advantage of a culture is because they don't have the belief that the self-independence. They don't have the belief that they can get this done and accomplish it themselves. Right. So that self-awareness is, I think you're dead on with that. As far as that being your message and takeaway, because you know, one of the questions I have for you for yourself personally is how has your drive for self-awareness and independence, which means you can be independently your own business owner, independently in your own thinking, right? How has that changed and impacted your life?
Absolutely, 100% of the way it's impacted my life, because being independent as a barber initially, I didn't really understand what it took to build clientele.
Correct.
The same principle I use to build my own clientele at the barbershop is the same principle I use in having patience to write the book or doing anything independent.
Yeah.
Because independence is all in bed that takes patience.
Yeah.
You have to build it.
Correct.
A lot of people see these businesses that pop up and different things that are going on. A lot of these people have hedge funds and making this money and they're able to
they ain't playing with other people.
And a lot of times people, you know, they don't see the process it takes to build something.
Correct.
You know, like a grocery store, for instance.
Yeah.
You just look at it like, oh, it's up and it's running. But there's a process that has to take place beforehand.
Yes.
And so for me, connecting the dots with my own business moves as a barber and what I'm doing now with Hip Hop Motivation, it's actually easier to do stuff that I'm doing now than it was to build clientele because, as you know, no one just pops in the shop and just sits in your chair.
Correct.
Nobody just walks in and says, oh, I want him to cut it. Exactly. Sometimes you get people that walk in and just do that for some reason, but the process.
But it's your body of work over time.
Yeah.
People seeing guys coming out with fresh fly cuts and the consistency.
And black people don't play with haircuts, or hairstyles. Black women don't play with hairstyles. You nip me one time, or you take my mustache too thin. I'm gonna start thinking about it. It might give you, it might be twice, but 3 times you don't mess with you after that. But it's the same process. The barbershop process let me know that there's a certain amount of patience that takes place.
Correct.
In all forms of business.
Correct.
And when I started seeing that, I was like, damn, this is interesting that how the barbershop or doing hair itself connects with doing big business.
Absolutely.
And even cutting the head is a part of a great piece of business because, if someone wants a certain haircut and say they have an afro and they're trying to get a low cut, you have to remove the stuff you don't need in order to get the results you want to see. Absolutely. And it's the same in business. Correct. The result that you want to see within business is you have to remove all your idiosyncrasies that may be stopping you from proceeding and moving forward within business. Sometimes that's procrastination. That's the biggest downer to anyone in business is procrastination.
Well, you bring up procrastination, for young people out there or even people that are trying to get themselves established, right?
Mm-hmm.
How important is it for an individual to have that structure and discipline, right? Which is going to help them overcome the procrastination. Right? That's my personal opinion. It's like when you talk about taking action, sometimes people can procrastinate because they're scared, they may not have the right information, they don't know where to start. What do you have for people that they want to launch a podcast, they want to start a book? Like when you talk about getting over that procrastination, what's your advice on how to handle that and deal with that?
Well, my advice is to start where you're at. Don't look at it like you have to have the best mic right off. You might get the mic that from Target. As long as it plugs in and it works.
You got sound.
Correct. If you have a cell phone, you have a recording device.
Absolutely.
You also have a filming device there.
Correct.
Start where you're at. I'm just a believer in facing what it is that you have at your disposal at the time.
Yeah.
And it's very important for us to embrace the dark. And that's also goes back to what I said earlier about the darkness. Embrace where you're at.
Correct.
The key to psychology is facing the self.
Yes.
You can't help yourself unless you face yourself. You can't grow until you face the facts of what's going on in your life at this time.
Yeah.
And so start where you are. If you don't have a cell phone, maybe one of your friends has a cell phone.
Yeah.
Start your podcast. Right. It's easy to put things up on YouTube. Right. It's easy to put things on Instagram. You can start things on social media. On Facebook, like we're doing right now.
Absolutely.
It's easy to get started.
That's
so
right.
Start where you are.
And it's great you bring up just not only it's easy to get started, your resources are everywhere, but it's that decision to say, I'm going to start now.
Mm-hmm.
I watched you, this was probably 4 years ago, when you first started putting up the content with you and Dame from Secret to Ball.
Right.
And you would ask Dame certain questions. Mm-hmm. And this wasn't any fancy cameras that you had.
And Dan for sure, for sure wasn't no fancy mic because we didn't even have a mic. We used camera mics.
You guys were just sitting on the couch having a regular conversation. Right. Most people would think they would need to have this whole theatrical, shoot producers to do this with someone of Dame's stature. But what was impressive to me, you guys were just sitting on the couch, shooting the breeze, having a conversation. But the message and what was in the content is what carried its power. Of course, Dame is with his stature, people know who he is. Yeah. But what really drew me was that he was sitting there and he was just openly being 100 with you, giving you the time, and you had your questions already prepared. Everything just flowed, right? Yeah, and so for people looking to start something, it doesn't have to be perfect.
Not at
That's
all.
what Kenyatta is saying. And even I myself, it doesn't have to be perfect. Like, I've been on the radio with ESPN for 3.5 years.
Okay.
And I made the decision that it's better for me to just start building my own content.
Right.
ESPN as a brand, it helped me launch into the space, right? And then I also had a chance to hone in on my skills during that period of time. Yeah. But at the end of the day, I knew that going forward, I wanted to own and control my own content. It goes back to what you talk about with independence, right?
Smart.
And so my next question is that in the hip hop community, right? You know, we've talked about the book, we've talked about your message and what you want your readers to get out of the message.
Right.
But overall, when we talk about being a hip hop motivator, right?
Right.
Where is this brand going? What can we expect to see from you in the future? Movies,
books. Yeah, definitely. Well, right now we're working on the Think and Ball Out movie.
So that's going to be a film.
That's going to be a film.
Okay.
You know, that's my story on, you know, how I started hip hop motivation. Again, that was on the day that everything occurred with the shooting.
Correct.
And so we're going to be doing more content based around education, based around metaphysics, based around enlightenment. So hip hop motivation is a self-help company or personal development company from a hip hop perspective.
Yes.
So we're staying on that path. Yes. You're not going to see no stuff that's going to,
negative
add to the. Well, you know what? I don't really like to use that word because, you know, what would positivity be without negativity? And what would consciousness be without ignorance?
Correct.
You have to have it. You know what I'm saying? Nothing in this room will work without the polarity of the masculine, feminine energy.
Correct.
You know, so you have to have both. You know, that's why when you hear people say, oh, we got to get rid of that, you can't get rid of negativity. You can't get rid of positivity. You just have to learn how to use balance within both means. You know what I'm saying? That's where the law of polarity stands firm.
Correct.
Where you can't break it. Correct. You know, natural law is what I really base everything around. So I'm going to move naturally with this company and just bring forth information that can enlighten people and help people on their journey. Yeah. You know, life is a journey, not a destination. So you're going to keep moving, you're going to continue, and everyone's here for a purpose. Right. Even the couch potato is here for a purpose. Right. You know, some people you may look at them like, well, they just worm food. When they die, they just here to feed the worm. Well, yeah, that's also a purpose. Right. You know, people that are vegans and vegans be like, oh, you shouldn't kill animals. But they kill vegetables. Correct. So when you look at things from a standpoint of polarity, you get to understand there's no absolute wrong and there's no absolute right. Correct. That's why argument is folly. And so I stand behind the fact that hip hop motivation is going to proceed through doing personal development. That's what we're about.
Within the hip hop.
Without the hip hop, through the hip hop culture. Right. You know what I'm saying? Just enlightening people.
Right.
And my love for hip hop is really what pushes me forward because I kind of look at it like, you know, there are some things that shouldn't have been done in hip hop, shouldn't have been said, you know, but there again, that turns into the thing of the polarities issue. It's like, what would that be without this? Right. So it's like a janitorial service for some things that have happened.
Without all the things that happened prior to Dame's experiences, where would all this be?
Absolutely, right? You know, absolutely. So you need both, man. I mean, you need the darkness.
When you talk about negativity, right, and positivity,
right?
You went through a negative experience. You were shot multiple times, right?
6 times.
6 times. Most people wouldn't survive one shot.
You
survived 6. You shot 6 times by someone you had no clue who they were or why they shot you.
Right. Absolutely.
Take us through that experience in your life and how you were able to overcome that.
Well, leaving the barbershop, I was on my way to cut Method Man from Wu-Tang Clan.
Yeah.
And I told him before I come and cut his hair, because last time I cut him before that, maybe a week before, he asked me to hook his iPod up. So everybody knows I got all the music from, you know, having got all the music in the bar. Yeah, in the barbershop, you know, you got to have, I got clean stuff, I got all the stuff playing. So I went to get my laptop, but I didn't make it in to get my laptop. On my way in, I was on the phone complaining. The area where I was living in at the time, I was staying with a young lady, and I was going through some relationship problems at that time too. What was interesting is that, you know, I was, I looking at it through the aspect of grass being greener, like a lot of us do as men. A lot of women do it too. And so I moved in with a young lady, and she was living downtown, but I didn't like the area. And guy walked up to me, he said, "Hold up." I turned around, he put the gun in my face. I ducked, hit him with the gate, and he just started shooting. Fell face first into the concrete on the last shot. He ran over, stood over me, put the gun close to my head, and click, he didn't have any more bullets. At that point, you know, he ran off, got in his car, heard the tires screeching. Cops came up. They came up, harassed me in that position. You know, not all cops are pigs, but they were pigs, the ones that stood over me. A Hispanic cop and a white cop. The Hispanic cop asked me, what did I do to deserve this, sarcastically. Wow. And I told him nothing. Of course, I couldn't really talk. I was hitting my liver and my lung. So I couldn't breathe. I was like, please help me. Please help me. He said, what'd you do to deserve this? I was like, nothing. Please help me. Help me. He said, oh, you must have did something. And then the white cop asked me my name. I was like, yeah. He said, I can't breathe. He told me, he said, I don't understand you. If you can't tell us your name, we can't get you the right help. At that moment,
so you were pursuing guilt in their eyes automatically.
Absolutely. At that moment, I heard ambulances coming. There was a lady consoling me on the ground, holding my hand, told me to just relax. They told her to get back, for obvious reasons, for investigative reasons, possibly. And then when I got in the ambulance, here we go again with people on the same type of frequency, and they're not giving me the real attention I need within the ambulance. The mask is falling off my face. I'm having to hold myself up on the gurney.
Do you firmly believe this was because of the color of your skin?
Absolutely.
Okay.
100.
Okay.
40%.
I just want to ask that
because, as you know, people keep bringing forth the same ignorance that they learn.
Correct. Stereotypes.
Stereotypes.
Yeah. You must be in a gang. You must have been selling drugs and you shot, right?
Right. Because in the ambulance, it was like two white guys and a Hispanic. And, I had to hold myself on the gurney. And, the mask kept coming off my face. They sitting there reading. They weren't even paying attention. They just pushed on my face. Like, oh, okay. You just pushed the mask on my face. And it still wasn't all the way on my face. So it was like, oh, my God. But,
these are people in a position that's supposed to care. These are the people that's supposed to.
Well, it's like, there's barbers in the barbershop that only cut to make money.
Yeah.
And if you base what you're doing on money and monetization, it's going to show. Because, how much money can you make to where you're happy?
Exactly.
I mean, you look at all the people that kill themselves up here in these hills over here. Their kids are unhappy. They're on drugs. They're drinking themselves to death. So is money the answer? No. It's real happiness is really pursuing and doing what it is you really have in your heart to do.
Correct.
Because the heart chakra is the most powerful chakra.
Absolutely.
If you're doing things from your mind, sometimes the mind can lead you in the wrong direction.
Correct.
You have to do it from your heart. That's why they tell you don't do anything unless your heart is in it. So if your heart's not in it, stop doing it.
Stop doing it.
If you're in a relationship and your heart ain't in it, leave it alone.
Yeah.
You need to have that conversation. And let that person go on about their business, continue on their journey.
Correct.
So you continue on yours. Yes. Stop playing God to each other.
Yes.
Stop thinking you're going to change someone. You're not going to change anyone, but you can actually help them by you being the pillar of light that they need to see.
Correct.
And that's where it goes back into the darkness.
Correct.
The hood is the darkness. Right. Let's just keep it real. It's darkness on all levels, but the hood is the real darkness.
Yeah.
And it's so beautiful to be in the dark. Because how would you get to the light?
Absolutely. So you went through that process.
Mm-hmm.
You get to the hospital. They work on you.
Right.
They're able to resuscitate you.
Absolutely.
And you went through a year and a half process of recovery.
Yeah, it was about a year of recovery. There was a rehabilitation time. I was going to the gym and doing different things, just because I had to get my breathing back.
Were you able to find out what happened or why this person shot you? Did they catch you?
No, I didn't.
The person that shot you?
No, they never. Not that I know of. I'm sure that he had his own effects that happened to him because everything's cause and effect. But as far as did they catch him, I doubt it. I never saw it. They came in. The cops came in and asked me, did I see some people? Who really? I couldn't tell you. I know he was Hispanic, but I didn't know if. I've never seen the guy. I never had a dealing with the guy. I wasn't selling drugs. I wasn't gangbanging. But I was caught up at being in the wrong place at the right. That really
feel he was attempting to rob you, baby, because
it may have been. You know what I'm saying? I was in a Cadillac at that time. You know what I'm saying? Sitting on chrome. I was doing well, as I thought I was doing well, because at that time when I got shot, I'm gonna keep it real that barbershop and what I had defined me. You know what I'm saying? That's what I was.
Right.
I'm a shop owner. I'm this and that.
Yeah.
Until, it wasn't until that happened that I realized laying on the floor with ants crawling up under my face, bleeding, not being able to breathe, that we're all one with this. Because I actually blacked out in that position too. And that's when I felt that I was one with the ground I was laying on. I was one with everything in existence. There was no separation. It's all God. It's all source energy. And so, understanding that, I began to stop letting certain things define me.
Yes.
Even right now with being an author, I look at it like I'm just a servant of the source energy, a vessel to bring forth information,
passing on light, bringing forth awareness,
right,
and sharing the information.
Not in the ego standpoint, not a way of like, oh, I'm doing this.
What's interesting that drew me to you, even when I watch your videos with Dame, that you were humble.
Okay.
Even Dame spoke of this, about you in the audio series of Culture Vultures. I can't remember exactly which episode, but he even spoke about how humble you were because you were getting straight to the point. You didn't talk about yourself, you know. And even watch you in the videos, I've never saw anything where you kind of like, I'm this guy, or you're just an everyday guy out here like anyone else with gifts and talents that you're sharing with the world. And I think that's to be celebrated. You know?
Oh, I appreciate that.
Which brings me to my next question. But before I get to the next question and we come to a closing, your mindset after being shot, almost losing your life. Right? Most people going through that, it can disrupt a lot of things and take them off a course where they can be bitter. They can be upset of why this happened to me, etc. What was that mindset once you got your full strength back? What was your mindset going forward?
Initially, there was a little fear in place because I didn't know who was going to come up to me and do anything. Correct. Anxiety. There was a heaviness of anxiety there. I was looking for, places where I can, get my strap up, you know what I'm saying? So just in case that someone ever tried to do that to me again, I can defend myself, And I'm not against, anyone trying to defend themselves because I feel that everyone's God-given right is to defend themselves if they're being harmed. But I knew immediately that I had two choices. I could either live in fear or I could move in faith for the rest of my life. And I chose faith. And so I don't own a gun. I don't, look at people as coming forward that are going to cause harm to me. I move with faith. I move just with faith, man. I don't look at it like, because a Hispanic guy shot me, that all Hispanics are bad, or because a Hispanic cop came up and harassed me in that position, that means all Hispanics are horrible, or all white people are horrible. I don't really believe in that, that type of thing, because it's like saying that all black people are gangbangers or hoods or hoodlums. You know what I'm saying? There's some people that didn't grow up in the hood. They grew up over here. And,
exactly.
But they talk like me and you. But, I'm not a believer in that, man. I believe that everyone is on a different frequency. Yeah. And I chose the frequency of faith. Yes. And so
that's powerful.
Yeah, I chose that frequency, and I didn't see, when I chose the frequency of faith, I began to see things that I didn't see before when I was on the frequency of fear. It's just like, you don't see and you don't come about certain people until you're ready to see them, until you're on that frequency. Absolutely. You can be seeing somebody all your life, and then all of a sudden you're on a different frequency, and now you really see them. Yes. Now you really see what's going on. It's like being a child and understanding what your parents are, and then when you get older, you're like, because you couldn't measure it as a child. Yeah. What that really meant for your mom to go to work and your dad to do what he did. Right. But then you get older, you begin to understand. They held it down. Absolutely. They were looking out. This is what they were going through. Your mother, like all of us in this room right now, we didn't have, like, our mothers could have left us and did whatever. Or whoever took care of us, our caregiver was. Some people were adopted. Some people's parents died.
Some people did have it.
And it's like, but at the same time, it's like the people that put forth the effort to take care of us as infants. It's miraculous. It's a beautiful thing to even bring us forth to where we're sitting here now. Yeah. Because the formative years are the most important years of everyone's life. Absolutely. So, again, to answer your question, I just chose the frequency of faith.
That's awesome. I think it takes a lot inside of a person going through that experience to not come back with hate. Yeah. And also to allow fear to dominate and rule their lives after that type of experience. And I do believe that experience in itself helped propel you in the direction that you're in now, probably 10 times forward.
Oh, I hated the feeling. Yeah, I hated the feeling, right? But I loved it too.
Yeah, when you talk about pain in the book, you and dang both. Yeah. And that pain is really the process of development of moving you in a direction of growth that's better for you in the long term than staying complacent or where you may be in the present. Unfortunately, we can't control how that pain comes about, right? Sometimes that can be financial pain, that can be with your health, that can be personal loss or tragedy, right? But pain is really power in itself that you can propel in the right direction of positivity. And I've learned that from my own personal experiences. I've lost family members to murder. I've lost 2 sisters to murder at 21 and 17 from the drug trade. So I understand pain from that side. But I myself have gone through also pain and loss with family members. My father, I lost him when he was, not by life, but by prison, to the drug gang. He was gone from the time I was in 5th grade up until I graduated from college.
Absolutely.
So we all experience different forms of setbacks. So I think it's amazing to see that you were able to overcome it. That's the darkness, right? And the darkness, a lot of times you're right, it is that power. And I believe that's something that we possess more so than any other cultures, because there is such a high level of darkness in the as you stated. And you know this, we're constantly fighting and trying to figure a way how to make it out. And the one thing I like about what you're doing is that rather than fighting amongst ourselves and staying amongst the negativity and filtering that negativity out amongst ourselves, let's look at the positive things. Let's look at the real power that we possess as a culture. Basically, the theme of the book, Culture Vulture, is to stop letting others tell you or either use you or take advantage of something that they have won. They don't know more than you. They're presenting themselves as if they do, but in reality, you carry and possess more power than any of those individuals that are coming to you. Exactly. Whether they're offering hundreds of thousands and millions, you possess more power. So one last question I have for you. I see a lot of different artists have been helping you guys with promotion of the book. What's been the feedback in the hip-hop community about the book to you, from other artists and other members of the hip-hop community to you directly?
I've heard a lot of positivity out there. I mean, I'm talking about like Redman, for instance. He loved the process itself because he was there from the beginning. Great friend of mine, he's in town right now too. Shout out Redman and Method Man as well.
True hip-hop.
They
for those who don't know who Redman is, hey, you gotta go check him out.
Absolutely. They already love the videos. A lot of people hit us up like Merciless. He bought the book. We got all like on Dame's End, all his people bought and they loved it.
And you created 2 series. So before we go, why did you create those 2 series? We got a lot of great positive feedback from the hip-hop community. But why did you create an audio and then the book?
Well, the audio is 16 chapters. The book is 40. Correct. So the book, I love the fact that the book is pure chaos, and melanin is chaos. So for those of you who don't know, that's what melanin is. And music is melanin put to scales. That's why jazz back in the day was all over the place. And most black people and those black things are chaotic. You go to a black restaurant, they're going to run out of something. 9 times out of 10. When I came in here this morning, the chaos was going on. We didn't know what side to film on. That's black. That's melanin. Yes. That's melanated people. That's what we do. And everything is melanated. So, but creating both projects was like, we just did the audio. We just handpicked a few chapters that we felt were great. We just did 16 of them. 6 + 1 is 7. I believe in the God number. You know what I'm saying? And then the book itself is 40. And the book is just a lot of random stuff, powerful random information. There's no book like it. This would be like hip hop's 48 Laws of Power, if you want to say. The 48 Laws of Power was a great book when it was written. That was a beautiful book at that history lesson. But what I did was with this book, we got the real article that's actually done these things. He actually did Rockaware. That wasn't Jane. That was Dane. Correct. He actually was managing all those artists and being the CEO of the company.
Which is amazing at the age. He was 20, 23.
He said he wouldn't like to do that now because he don't believe in the manager, the CEO should manage the artist. He believes there should be a form of separation there. But he lived and learned. He learned from his own mistakes, his own shortcomings. But to him, he didn't have shortcomings because that darkness, he's one of those people that has embraced the darkness of his own ignorance, the darkness of him not knowing, not having enough money or whatever it may be. And that's what keeps him moving forward. You have to embrace the darkness.
So in closing, for those out there that are aspiring to walk in your shoes one day and author their own book, write the scripts to their own movies, write the name dash, but they say, hey, I don't have the resources, I don't have the connections, I don't have a relationship with a dad. Right. What is your response to that?
Well, you have a relationship with source energy, and what you should do is start where you are, begin to channel information from yourself. Get that pen and pad. A notebook costs a cheap notebook costs you about $1.50 to $1 if you need one. They got pencils and paper everywhere. And so what you want to do is start where you're at. If you want to become an author, start writing. If you want to become a basketball player, go to the park and start playing. Train yourself, train your body. If you want to be a teacher, you have to train your mind. You have to have patience with your students. Whatever it is you're trying to do, and begin to do the research there first. And then what you're going to see is from seeing other people doing what it is you want to do, it's easier to imagine the possibilities of you doing it. Correct. Because imagination is key to all this. If you can see it, you can have it. That's right. If you can see it, you can have it in your hand. Right. So I know it sounds cliche, but that's the truth.
Well, it definitely is the truth, especially for someone that like yourself who's going through some adversity,
Right.
major adversity,
Right.
you know, almost losing your life. Also, there's adversity in, you know, working on a project over a decade and seeing that to fruition, being a successful business owner,
Right.
working with some of the most well-known celebrities in the business at the apex, starting from scratch. So we all start from zero at the end of the day. Where can our listeners and viewers connect with you at? Social media, blogs? Where do you direct?
Well, first, since we're on Facebook, I'm at Kenyatta Kari on Facebook, and then they can go to the Culture Vultures page. Culture Vultures, the book, Facebook page, and they also have a hip hop motivation page.
And is that where they can get a copy of the book?
Absolutely.
So
links are there. Culture Vultures is on Amazon right now.
Okay.
So if you go to Amazon, all over the world, they have a way that you can receive that book all over the world. You can be in Africa, Europe, rural parts of Germany, wherever you're at.
Are you going to be doing any book touring or touring different cities? So what cities can we expect to see you popping up in?
Well, the first city that Dame and I we're doing, of course, LA.
Okay.
We're gonna do some.
When is that?
We have something coming up. Possibly, I'm gonna find out today. In a couple of weeks over here, we're gonna try to do something over at the Nipsey store.
Okay,
at the Marathon. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
I
which is my neighborhood.
So
which is where I grew up at. I grew up over there in the 60 area. Yeah. So
you know all the roads.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know a lot of the guys. You know what I'm saying? I know the Bloods. I know the Crips. I know, man, being a barber, I was on both sides. So I was right there on Crenshaw and 43rd, which is Lamert Park. Yeah. Shout out to all the barbers on Lamert Park. You want to follow me on Instagram? It's hip_hop_motivator. And YouTube, go to the Hip Hop Motivation YouTube page.
That's where you guys can get a lot of game. There.
Absolutely.
A lot of knowledge and information around Kenyatta's success and a lot of his projects are there on YouTube. So be sure to go there and follow him and subscribe.
And also, too, I give out an email where people can chime in and ask questions, and they just may want to drop a line and say that they appreciate what we're doing, and that's ballinginfo@gmail.com. There's no G on the ball. Okay. And then we got the Secret of Ballin' movie. We're actually printing that up starting tomorrow. So we got that coming finally. Because I finished it. Well, we finished it.
Okay.
So
you already shot it?
Yeah, I already shot it. It's done.
Where was it shot at?
All around LA.
Okay.
Yeah, so what we did was the sound work took a little time to get done.
Who are the features in this film?
Chris Brown, Snoop Dogg, Kelly Rowland, Faith Evans, Redman, Method Man, RZA, Raekwon the Chef, Dr. Michael Bernard Beckwith is in it. We have DJ Quick in it. We got Be Real from Cypress Hill in the movie. Myself, I'm chiming in. We got a lady named Aisha Mason, who is a practitioner over at Agape.
So is this shot from a documentary style? Or
documentary, docudrama. So what it is a movie that's going on and taking place. Actually, my lady, Michelle Gentle, she's playing a lady named Amina Davis, and Amina Davis is on the journey of achieving her dream to have her own successful clothing store business. But she's in the corporate world, and she's trying to balance out the two. Then she loses her job, and then she has to make some moves, and it puts her in the darkness immediately. But from that darkness, she begins to rise to the light. And so we're working on actually the script for The Secret 2 as well, TOO.
So when are we going to get to see the film?
The film will be, I'm actually getting those copies pressed up. We're going to have those online. We saw them.
So you're going to do it independent?
Yeah, it's all independent.
So platform
will be through Amazon, but we're going to have it independently on our own site. Yeah. So where we can sell. So when we buy a DVD.
I love the way you guys are doing, especially with Dame. We released the other movie before Honor Up. I believe it was Low Silence. He released 8 copies.
You're talking about the mini movies, the videos, like music videos.
So you're gonna do it along those lines, or just one?
No, it's gonna be one complete film because it's totally different than anything that you've probably seen. It's like what the secret meets hip hop. Okay. So it's an hour and 56 minutes.
Is there a release date yet?
Well, it actually was released back in the day, the 50-minute version of it. But now what we're going to do is after tomorrow, I'm going to get the actual dates. When I get the DVDs back, it takes like about a week.
So I look forward to seeing it.
And then I'll be, they're going to be online.
Okay.
So
whatever we can do to help with promotion.
Absolutely, man. You already know.
Post on our page as well.
Absolutely.
I think what you're doing is absolutely amazing.
I appreciate you, brother, for having me.
And I really appreciate you coming on this podcast and watching AudioExperience. Our goal is to basically get the information out from successful people that are out here, the doers of the world. That are making an impact in today's society and culture. Guys, go get a copy of the book Culture Vultures on Amazon. You can also get a copy of the AudioExperience on iTunes. Right? Is it anywhere else?
It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. It's on all streaming platforms. Okay, they can get on Google Play as well.
Well, before we close, is there anything you want to share with our listeners and our viewers as a takeaway?
Well, the takeaway that I have for you is to embrace the darkness. Okay. Wherever you're at, and I say this, and I'm being clear with this. Don't look at the hood as a bad place to start. Understand that the hood is the greatest place to start because everything starts and goes from darkness into the light. If you're already in the light, no more light to get. You have to start off at zero. Start off at zero and keep moving. Keep adding to yourself. Add to your frequency. Because the law of vibration states that everything is based in degrees. Yes. Everything is. And there's no absolute wrong, there's no absolute right. Embrace it and move forward. You know, and so in moving forward, just understand that it takes patience. That's it. Trust the process.
Trust the process, which is the theme of this podcast.
Trust the process.
And embrace the darkness, guys, as Kenyatta is saying, because at the end of the day, I can share with myself personally, you know, that it's only gonna make you stronger. And if you have it in you, you're gonna figure out a way to overcome the objections, the obstacles, the setbacks, the fears, the doubts, all of those things. I think the key takeaway too that I like to share, in addition to what Kenyatta said, is self-awareness. Really have a true understanding of, you know, who you are and what you want out of life, and then focus on becoming independent of that in mind, body, and spirit, and everything else will follow. So we appreciate you coming on.
Thank you, brother. Kenyatta. Thank you. I'll come back anytime too, man. Anytime.
Back again.
Yeah.
Of course, when you release the film, and that project is underway, we'll hopefully be able to reconnect and also be a part of your pop-up that you guys have.
Absolutely.
Book signing release. So guys, go connect with Kenyatta. Be sure to get a copy of the book. Until next time, you guys take care, keep hustling, keep winning. And this concludes our the Rod Watson audio experience. Have a great day.